When it comes to professional wrestling, if you are talking about it, we are talking about it. Welcome to the Wrestle Chat Podcast with the Ant-Man.
Episode? That's this week's show right there. Episode 36. Hey, it's the Ant-Man, and he's Michael Glavin. Welcome, buddy. You moved from Texas to the Carolinas. You don't have the allergies that we have here now.
I don't. It's pretty nice now, but I did grow up in the Midwest, which pollen and stuff there is terrible. So I grew up and developed a natural coat of armor, if you will.
Well, I thought I did in Oklahoma and lived in Nashville. Phoenix was a nice, I could relax there. I didn't have to do shots, or I didn't have to take a ton of medicine. Came back. Austin has always just been awful for allergies. And I've been pretty good the last few years. And for whatever reason right now, it's kicking my butt. But we'll get through this. I mean, it's always fun talking wrestling, no matter how we sound or feel, right?
That's right. You do sound a little bit more manly, though, today. So I'm excited to get the deep Ant-Man.
As opposed to the very girly previous episodes, episodes 1 through 35, those very effeminate Wrestle Chat podcasts.
There you go.
Let's start off with this, because last weekend, I went to the Big 12 Championship. WWE, a part of the Big 12. This was their first foray into I don't even know if that's the right word. I feel like I'm on medicine, and I'm not on a lot of medicine. So things I say and your head starts swimming. That's kind of how I feel. But WWE with college football, I mean, I'm not sure too many people really put those two together. You would always see whoever won national championship or what have you with, just the ordinary WWE title over their shoulder, because they made sure one was in the dressing room as soon as that game was over. But now Undertaker was on the field presenting it to the quarterback for the University of Texas, who won the Big 12 championship, Quinn Ewers. And he was parading that thing all around Jerry World as people. I'll tell you this. So you're not a giant college football fan, I know. I'm a huge Sooner. You see me wear my hat from time to time here on the show. Oklahoma and Texas both leaving the Big 12, gone now from the Big 12. And we didn't go quietly. Neither team did. It's kind of cool, Texas winning and leaving with that trophy, because it's been a pain in the butt all year long. Well, the commissioner of the Big 12 was trying to present the trophy, and it was louder than Dom getting booed. It was equivalent to that or bigger. And I was like, Dom, I kept looking around. Dom, you here? They're booing somebody. It was the commissioner. Did you get it? I know, like I said, you're not a giant college football fan, but did you see any of the highlights from that title belt presentation from The Undertaker?
Yep, just the highlights. And it's cool that, that they keep, honestly, I don't remember which belt was on the field, but on that note, it's cool that the belts are branching out and more football and sports related stuff too. Kind of gimmicky, but also not, because it's kind of cool that they get to present, titles with the team's branding and stuff like that. But no, it was cool to see them in that space. The reach in WWE huge right now it's just, when you look at even just 10 years ago, I mean, granted, you go back and, WrestleMania has always had celebrities, and celebrities have always been a part of, WWE, but it's been them coming to WWE, not WWE going and doing other huge things. And so when you look at that, WWE's on a football field or being talked about on ESPN or, being reported on by the New York Times, it's just mind blowing how far wrestling has come in the last couple years, really. But yeah, super cool to see those highlights and them, on the field in prime time, looking at all, or being there and doing all that.
The integration's bigger than it ever has been. Mm-hmm. I mean, we've never seen them actually team up with a conference to do something like this. I think the Big 12 is just the first one. I think that they end up going to all Power 4, Power 5 conferences and doing something similar, SEC, Big 10, what have you, once the other ones kind of shake out. I know that ACC is getting teams from the West Coast. Having teams from the West Coast is kind of weird. All that stuff is odd. And of course, the national championship playoffs and stuff are going to change next year and go to the top 12. I bet you see WWE more involved. And I can't wait for the first, overseas knockoff of this Big 12 Dr. Pepper Big 12 championship, with I make you a good deal, real leather. We'll see somebody with one of those popping up on Facebook soon. Manchild Chronicles, you guys have been doing live shows for the past couple of weeks. You, Ryan, John, Jay, did you guys talk about the Big 12 championship over there?
Actually, we didn't. We've all been super busy this week with work, and so we got together and threw a show together last minute, for kicks and giggles, and ended up being a super fun show. It's funny. It actually is being recorded just shortly prior to this episode debuting, and so really, really fun episode. This week we are talking about or doing a draft of the most audibly pleasing sounds ever. And so as vast
one of those is not me slurping tea out of a cup, is it? Yeah. Include that in yours to give it. I don't know if you guys have heard Ant-Man slurp tea out of his Yeti, but man, you guys have got to hear it. It's great.
Believe it or not, that actually went number 8. But no, it was a super fun episode. And as always, I've heard people say before, oh, you guys are always so put together and, how far out do you plan? And it's like, we are pulling it out of our butt, making up rules, usually right before we hit the record button. So come join us this week. I know you won't be disappointed.
Those tend to be the best ones, though. When you do that, Manchild Chronicles, you can watch it. If you're watching this show on YouTube, you can scroll down to other channels that we love, and there you'll find the Manchild Chronicles channel. There, you can click on that and subscribe. Watch any of those. If you're listening with us on the free iHeartRadio app, I want to say thank you. And you can also go to the description. We have a link for the Manchild Chronicles podcast there, so you can listen anytime as well. I sent you something this week that it looked like Kevin Owens is injured, and that he would be on the shelf for a little bit. I've been reading a little bit about this week and a lot of conflicting stories that it looks like this is just part of the storyline. Have you seen any of that too?
I got a sidetrack for just a minute. Okay. I was super confused when you sent that to me. And let me tell you why. Because I'm going back and watching some WWE content on Peacock, and I was watching the WWE 24 documentary on WrestleMania 38. and so it was funny because I was watching Kevin Owens, go up against Stone Cold Steve Austin, in this documentary and seeing all the behind the scenes stuff and this, that, whatever. And then you text me and you're like, Kevin Owens injured. And I'm like, I had this weird moment where I stepped outside of space and time and I was like, but I just watched Kevin Owens. Did he get injured in that match? And I'm like, no, that was 2 years ago. And so it was this weird vortex moment. But all that to say,
it's easy to get into that in wrestling, though, especially if you dive into stuff on the Peacock on Peacock and the WWE channel in there. Because I like right now, saying like you, I'm watching some older stuff right now. I'm watching some old World Class Championship Kerry Von Erich stuff that I just kind of have on, and it is weird to kind of be going in your current timeline and seeing some of that if you're not just actively sitting down and watching it and going, I'm watching it for this purpose, Yep.
And WWE is so good at branding, the shirts change, but not that much.
Right.
So,
no, you're exactly
and so you're
right.
like, everything looks the same. But I have no idea whether this is a storyline or not. I similarly have read conflicting reports. If that's the case, really sucky time to go on the shelf for a little bit, but hopefully, with the Rumble around the corner, if he is legitimately injured, he won't be out for too long. So
I hope not. I'm going to pull up your text because we do this back and forth before we actually do this show. All week long, we go back and forth in our text. And There was one that you sent me in particular. That's our next topic. That was about I had to read it 2 or 3 times because you used the real name, not the name that everybody knows. Tony rushed the living blank out of Copeland versus Cage. Mm-hmm. It'd be Christian Cage and Adam Copeland. Edge and Christian is, so I'm like, who's Copeland and who's like, and Cage? What? I don't remember what. Hey, Copeland is Adam Copeland. That's Edge. Oh yeah, there you go. They're fighting on the 6th for the belt. Blows my mind. Yeah, he did. I mean, that was a rushed match, or I feel like it was. And it also feels like a match that should have been on pay-per-view.
Yep. We've talked about this many a times. You know, when you put on a pay-per-view every week on TV, it's hard to build to something, you know, and
really is.
They've done consistent television, so I'm not going to knock them too hard, but it was a real toss-up for me because I was diving in and thinking about this more after I texted you. I was like, man, was I a little harsh on that? Like, you know, here's why. Here's why. Those dudes are not getting any younger. And if they put any TV matches between them and a pay-per-view, the odds of somebody throwing out a back, you know, breaking a leg, doing, you know, osteoporosis, this, that, whatever, like the odds of them not making it to that pay-per-view match is actually kind of reasonable. And so the more
calcium on a pole match is what I'm thinking right now.
Calcium on a pole match. And
calcium pills.
And so the more I thought about it, the more I'm like, well, I mean, if I was them, I would probably want to rush it too. Because again, you're not getting any younger. And if the whole reason you came over, it's like saying, hey, let's go out to dinner and let's go find the nicest steakhouse we can, $100 steaks. Let's have some good steak. And you get there and it's like, no, I think we're going to start with an appetizer. Let's just get a couple onion rings. Oh, but no, let's wait. Let's get some dip. Let's, you know, and you spend 3 hours doing, you know, everything except getting the steak. That kind of sucks, you know, but
you take 3 bites of your steak and you're full.
Yeah, exactly. So the whole point I'm trying to get to was maybe I was too harsh. Maybe it's not, but it just felt like it was such a huge match that just happened and it was done. Now, granted, they're continuing to tell more story, but you had that first encounter that means something for them to face off that way for the first time ever.
Sure.
And it just, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. I watched it and I thought it was a great match. I mean, those guys just work differently than everyone else in AEW, not only because they are veterans, but because of how well they know each other. They've had that match 1,000 times off TV in a backyard somewhere. And, you know, they know each other so stinking well. I bet they don't even talk in the ring. I bet they did grunt or make noises, and they know what the next move is. But I think I texted you this too, was something like to the tune of, I bet it was a sellout backstage. All those guys just sitting around watching Edge and Christian wrestling in an AEW ring. That's huge, and you get to be there to watch it, and it's just on a random Dynamite. That's a big deal. And I just kind of thought that maybe there would be more run-ins, more things to happen. Or if you were going to do a match, it doesn't go very long because something dumb happens and Kill Switch or Luchasaurus or whatever his name is interrupts the match. And so we have to continue push the real match down the line that leads to a steel cage or something else. I kind of thought that might be the direction they go. No, they just had a match and Christian Cage won. And if you didn't get a chance to watch, you should go back. It's actually a really, really good match. But long-term storytelling, it doesn't seem like that's really what AEW wants to do. Overarching. They do it with some things. MJF thing going right now is really big. And that's a really good long-term storytelling piece there with he and whoever the devil is. If the devil is him, if the devil is CM Punk and he's coming, I don't know what it is.
Is the devil you know better than the devil you don't know?
Yeah, does he know him? So does that mean it's him? Man, you could paint in all the gray areas of that thing. Speaking of CM Punk, though, he's a part of our The Vault this week. I ran across this, and I thought about it, but I went back and rewatched it. One, it's looking back on it now, it's 2012. and the camera work on it, they were trying to be really edgy, and it just turned into being really not good. And it was when he and Stone Cold are sitting there doing an interview with good old JR, talking about WWE 2K13 and how, although you can't get CM Punk and Stone Cold Steve Austin in a Attitude Era ring together, you can't have them wrestle in the video game. And it's funny because they sound like they're talking trash, but they're actually saying nice things about each other. But they're, Stone Cold doing his hell, son, whatever, and he goes into stuff, but he's actually complimenting CM Punk.
Yeah.
And it's one you should go watch. It's about, I don't think, like 12, 16 minutes long, which is a long promo for a video game. But you should see it. It's the first time they were ever together on the screen like that. Punk is the WWE champ with the old spinner belt. And, Stone Cold still looks like he'd come in and whip everybody in the room, but doesn't. And so go back and watch that, because now we actually might get that for real in a ring. It's under the heading The Vault. Right here on the description of this podcast, you just look for The Vault, and the link to that video is right there. A few weeks ago, and we're going to talk about this when we get to the actual premiere, the Iron Claw is coming out December 22nd, and I got a chance to go to the premiere of it. It was fantastic. The movie's great. We'll talk more about that later, but something really cool that's happening this coming Wednesday is the Von Erichs are going back to Dallas. They're going to be there in Garland, Texas, the AEW Dynamite. It's going to be the two boys and Kevin, their dad, Kevin Von Erich. So Ross and Marshall and Kevin all in there. What they're going to be doing, I have no idea. I just know that Kevin will not be wearing shoes, because he doesn't ever. I think we were lucky just to get him wearing shoes on the red carpet. He never. Have you gone back since I've talked about this so much and watched any of the WCCW matches with Kevin and any of that?
I haven't been able to yet. I admittedly we've been burning the candle at both ends. It's been hard enough to keep up with what's happening currently, much less going back and watching other stuff. But,
you were moving during that time too.
Yeah. It was a lot of stuff happening. So I'm going to get to it. Especially, I think probably what'll happen is I'll end up seeing the movie first.
Yeah.
And then I'll be like, oh, and then I'll stay up till 3 a.m. watching, old matches and stuff. But no, I'm looking forward to diving into all that.
Man, I'll tell you, those guys, there was nothing like, and you don't really get the full feel of it today of how big the Von Erichs were in Dallas, Texas, but to have those guys come back and be a part of the show in Dallas, and just assuming that they will be wrestling, we won't know until Wednesday. I'm sure at some point Kevin will get in and be able to put the Iron Claw on somebody. But if you don't have it on your calendar yet to go see the Iron Claw, you should. Just overall, this is one show. My wife doesn't go with me to any wrestling. She went one time. We sat in the front row at a SmackDown, and I think it was Rusev and Roman Reigns, and Rusev threw Roman Reigns into the guardrail in front of us. It knocked, we had the, not on top, but down on the bottom, we had our drinks down there, and it knocked them off. So she reached down to get the cup, and they threw him back into the same spot. And so the guardrail hit her in the head and gave her a concussion. We left after one match. One match. Had front row seats, first time ever, left after one match. She is never going back to wrestling. She went to wrestling and got hurt at wrestling. How does that
told
even
me that
happen?
story before. That sucks.
Yeah, she couldn't feel, she was having tingling down the left side of her body. It was just like a mini pinched nerve. What was crazy is my chiropractor was actually at SmackDown too, and he's a little pissed that I called him, because I was like, hey, can you come up here to this one? He's like, what's wrong? I'm like, well, and told him the whole story. Yeah, but she won't go back now. But all that to say, she goes, I will go see the movie with you. And so I've already seen it once. I can't wait to see it again. She said that she would go. So it's a date. You guys got to watch it. It comes out on December 22nd. There are some screenings. If you can find one close to you, you can watch it before the national release. I read something this week I thought was very interesting, and it was just very short. And that was that Ken Shamrock and WWE now have an agreement on merchandising. The name Ken Shamrock seems kind of odd to bring up in 2023, does it not?
It kind of does. I mean, I knew he had that deal with McDonald's every spring for the shakes, but I didn't know that that he was on WWE's radar. It's such of all people.
Why him?
I had to ponder it for a minute. I was like, nothing against him or anything. There's nothing wrong with Ken Shamrock.
No, but have we ever talked about Ken Shamrock on this show ever?
Nope.
Yeah, I think so. Kind of odd.
Hey, we can buy some Ken Shamrock merch. Maybe we'll have some like nunchucks on it or something and be kind of cool.
Or those the Brock Lesnar gloves,
the fight gloves,
Ken Shamrock, But I think a lot of stuff I was reading, there was a lot of people speculating that he wouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. That maybe that's why they're doing merchandise with him again and doing something with him, is to be able to, he's going to the Hall of Fame, grab your new shirt, everybody makes $1 million, something like that.
Pretty much, yeah.
I've seen him. It was later in life. I mean, this was in the last 8 years, something like that. Saw him fight on a pay-per-view, on a random pay-per-view JR was calling when he wasn't in WWE and before AEW. And very interesting because he looks the same, just older. He's still shredded. I mean, he could kill either one of us.
Yep.
I'd never talk, back talk him, but
nope.
Something else on Raw this week, or with WWE, is a lot of people noticed that during a package that they were showing from the previous week, Jey Uso's shirt was blurred out. Yeet was blurred out. Evidently, we run into some kind of trademark thing here.
Mm-hmm. Are we even allowed to say it?
Oh, I'll bleep it out. If you just notice those bleep, I was saying the word yeet. That was bleeped out again, I'm sure. But
maybe
I don't know if we are. I just have to put hashtags in the description.
What I found interesting is that per the report that I read, the trademark was actually held by another wrestler, which I thought was really interesting. It was actually the trademark was actually held by a female independent wrestler. And
how about that?
And apparently they've had it since like 2019 or something. So really, really late to the yeet train, I guess. But it is kind of funny. I've seen some accessory interviews and stuff with Jey since then, and he can't say it at all. And so he was talking to somebody doing an interview about his timeline progression with the bloodline and talking about it. And then and then he's explaining it, Usos day one, all this. And then we had the era, and then now we're at this. And so he kind of hyphened his own word that he couldn't say.
He censored himself.
It was pretty fun. It was pretty fun,
smart.
but strange stuff, man. Strange stuff.
That's because they have said that on the show for a year or more. Mm-hmm. Like both of those guys will just say it, but there was never a shirt. And I guess that's probably when you really run into something. I also hear that if you have a trademark, that you really have to actively look and defend it. Mm-hmm. Like see if anybody else is using it, or if you don't, they'll take it from you. Or just
I could understand from a merchandising standpoint, like why they couldn't do it, but why? What are you going to say the word? It was like Paris Hilton trademarking "That's Hot" back in the day,
right?
Like how you going to track that?
Dang, we gotta bleep that one too, don't we?
Probably.
This is now the bleep show. In case you were wondering,
the bleep show.
We just have to bleep everything on this show. Speaking of bleeping, that might do it for this week. Anything that we missed, dude?
I don't think so. I'm just gonna try and get my ducks in a row with where Kevin Owens is and when, and is he injured or not, and all that.
Check the year before you watch, okay?
Yeah, check the year. Make sure you're all put together. But we've got no. I think that's it.
All right. If you haven't followed us on Instagram yet, look for us there at Wrestle Chat Podcast. We throw up questions and some other fun stuff there that we get into once we meet back here and chat every weekend. So love for you to connect with us on Instagram at Wrestle Chat Podcast, and let's stay connected throughout the week. For Michael Glavin, I'm the Ant-Man, and we'll see you next time on the Wrestle Chat Podcast.